Hi, this is Jim of Animateducated, and today you'll meet Michaela Hart and Chris Jenkins, the founding members of a new animated studio called Raft Animation. So I just want to let everybody know who you guys are, like what your background is. I know you went to Paris, right, Michaela? You went and
Yeah,
you went to school there.
yep, a little bit. That's where I started my career. I left in 1991 and stayed until 2000 and started with a production company there that when there were five channels, five. So we oversaw all the animation on four of the five channels, which wasn't bad at the time. And I learned everything about animation, getting my hands dirty on it. I got this opportunity to get a PA job,
Hmm.
and took it and didn't look back. So I was there till 2000, and I focused a lot in the last 5, 6 years since I left Universal on primarily my own consulting and company to help studios around the world succeed in challenge productions at times, things like that. So I really enjoyed that. My whole goal kind of was getting the band back together. It was a very special alchemy that made Surf's Up.
And I want to let everybody know that you actually wrote Surfs Up, and you started your career at Disney as an effects animator, and now you're director, producer,
I'm
writer.
not even sure what I am. I make bread now. That's what I do. I make very good bread. The kids love it.
Yeah.
I began on Roger Rabbit right out of college. I'd never animated before, but at that time in London, Disney really were looking for anybody that could hold a pencil, and I'd spent 4 years of training to hold a pencil, and I could do it. So joined Disney, and it was wonderful. I had stars in my eyes. I always, and do love the old classics, and I've turned into one. And just going from London, then coming on to Little Mermaid, that was being made in Burbank, Glendale actually, and then going from one movie to the next, to the next, to the next. I didn't realize how long it was, really speaking. And I left Disney in 2001 to join Sony, and they had this little surfing penguin movie there at the time. So I didn't come up with that aspect of it, but it was sort of, the movie wasn't really thriving. It was stuck, and it was stuck because it was a sort of a Scooby universe of penguins riding in beach buggies and on hang gliders and so forth. And at the same time, one of my favorite movies was, and always will be, Spinal Tap. And I thought, well, why don't we do that? Look at a different way to do the thing. And, Spider-Man did that beautifully most recently.
Mm-hmm.
And it's that sense of experimentation, I think, that we take into Raft and want to continue. But I would say that I came up with the concept and the treatment for Surf's Up, and sort of christened every character, and then very much to work with Chris Buck and Ash Brannon and putting the thing together, and Don Reimer, who, bless his soul, was on with us at the time too. So I was a participant in writing the script. But everybody worked on it together, and we all held the faith that if you do it right, you sort of get into that trick of thinking this is real, and that's what we wanted to do, as well as provide a lovely story of somebody that realized that winning isn't everything, and that you can learn to live your life. It was very counter Hollywood, but it was a wonderful, thrilling, great, wonderful experience. We're doing storyboards down at the beach, that kind of thing. A once in a lifetime job, yeah.
Surf's Up is timeless. It's one of those. It's just wonderful, and I don't think. Well, it didn't. It's not that it didn't get the recognition it deserved, but it came out during the wave of Penguin movies, and I'm I feel very, very grateful and fortunate to be able to partner with Chris. He's his expertise is unsurpassed, and I'm very fortunate.
I think she's just after my bread recipe. Yeah.
Could be. You want to kind of help the planet, you know, you want to kind of put out some stories which will help educate the audience and have them go, yeah, what's going on here, you know?
Yeah,
Um,
edutainment,
yeah,
edutainment that Disney did so well, you know, in
yeah.
telling that.
But every time I go to a store, what do you see on the ground? Masks or gloves, right?
It's a strange world right now, and I can't possibly, you know, understand where some people's heads are at. But all you can try to do is to provide a positive light, and that's what we want to do. I mean, the big thing with environmentalism is that, and I experienced this very much. So it's like you're presented with the subject, whether it's David Attenborough, who I absolutely worship. And then I looked at, I watched them all. Growing up, that was my thing, you know, wildlife and wildlife painting. That's what led me to college in London, which then brought me on to Roger Rabbit, and I didn't any training for what I was doing there. But the problem is that people can get, and we know the sort of gaff now. We know that you're going to go through a beautiful program about some beautiful animal, and then at the end it'll say, but they're failing. And they're failing because we're tearing up the forests, we're burning down the forests, we're, you know, heating up the globe so that polar bears are going to die out by the end of the century, all this terrible stuff. And yes, it's real, and yes, it's very important that as Michaela and I go into this, we need to know all that. But in our work, we're trying to provide a place for people to go, younger kids in particular, where they're not going to get depressed and think, oh, what's the bloody point? You know, this is about trying to cheer people into activity. And animation does that. And I absolutely realize that the environmental problems are so much greater than that. But again, it's changing one mind at a time. It's trying to find a sweet spot that makes little Johnny want to believe in Oliver the Otter as a real character, and identifying with that, then maybe not throwing stuff so down into the drains, into the into the streams and into the ocean eventually. That's what it's all about ultimately. It's just important to do something with what we know and give a little back. It is a business, but we're aiming firmly at charity work right now, and just trying to make a difference.
And so right now we're very excited. We're partnering with Oceana, and we're starting to work with institutions that have a global vision. So our idea was, listen, we've got, you know, as artists, this is the one thing we can do, apart from writing a check, that we can give back. And I think, and Chris and I felt really with a lot of intention that it was a responsibility that we wanted to take on and create ourselves. Why not have a model that's exclusively to tell eco stories?
We're not just taking the easy path to doing that. It would be easy, you know, to talk about the one polar bear left on the ice floe. But what we want to do is to not go directly at the issues. Enjoy it as a movie like any other you would want to see, and but let there be a subliminal message that's coming through that makes you feel differently. That it's the kind of thing that back in the old days when people used to go to the cinema, it's about families talking about the subject as they drive home, and provoking thought. I know I've done that with my kids on different things, and I think that Michaela and I both want to make sure that we are not being didactic, not telling people you must do this, but let them feel the urgency themselves and become activists in one way or the other. We, if we ever give the game away, if we ever broke and did a kind of a nudge, nudge, wink, wink thing, it would have totally fallen apart. Mm-hmm. And fortunately, I think that we work with Shia LaBeouf and obviously Jeff Bridges, and to sit back in the recording room and watch those two make a lot of stuff up that wasn't in the script and hit certain marks, so that in a scene like Making the Board, where the timing is perfect, right? And most of it is one long take, and there are a few other things that our editor Ivan Blancio chose to put in there. But that is so many things at once. It's about making a surfboard. But it's about a cocky kid, and it's about your dad telling you how to make the Pinewood Derby car, and dads like myself getting carried away with doing it all on our own. Like, get out of the way! I'm going to do this. Don't show you how to do it properly. But so we're in it as people. We know it, we feel it, but it's also pushing the plot along in a way that is totally unexpected. So yeah, more of that.
Yeah, we're excited, and we're not just focusing on theatrical. We're very excited about looking at short content, keeping things that are viral. That's our first big thing that's coming out next month that we're excited about, a PSA that we've designed, all remote, with volunteers. It was really fantastic.
You know what was amazing is that the calling card of inviting people in to play in our sandbox was environmentalism, and people really wanted to dive into that, even though we weren't paying them. I mean, this is for charity. It'll maintain itself that way, but this was a big deal for people to donate so much time, particularly through COVID-19, and it was saying that this is what we want to do. What do you think? Do you want to be a part of it? Hell yeah, people, come on, let's do it. Big problem was that we couldn't have a big stinking party at the end with beers because we're all separated. But maybe we'll do a Zoom drinking session probably.
Can I get a high five? Oh, dude, you okay? Oh, my bad.
We're good friends with World Surfing League, and that obviously goes back to Surf's Up and working with those guys then, and we hope we'll do more stuff for them in the future.
And our goal is to do something that's impactful and different. So we're not beholden to any specific thing. And right now we're starting with the shorter format.
You have some short PSAs that are starting to come out. Is that the?
Yeah, there's quite a few of those. And then there's a musical project we're working on, which is a little, I would say it's Fantasia-like, but it's different in that there is a story going through the whole thing. Somebody introducing the shorts and then sort of like picking it up and saying, and that was the lesson for that one, albeit in a finely written and astute way. And there will also be 6 musical pieces, and so we're actively developing that right now. And then we have feature ideas. There's no shortage of ideas. It's just that what can we do right now, particularly since COVID took the whole world and went, shook it up and made it change the paradigm. So, we're just looking at what people seem to want right now, humor for sure, and something that can be projected on your, your phone. So we have loads of things, and they're ongoing, and every day is writing, or and as soon as we are able to bring more people in, the lovely thing is we don't have walls and a roof. We have each other, and we have a wonderful sort of connectivity with so many people that we've both worked with. And that stood us in good stead so far. So we'll keep doing that, and then building projects. Some will be longer term, taking some of the fabulous art directors I've worked with and giving them a project and say, go develop, be wonderful, and come back in 6 months. The abilities are endless right now. We just have to make sure that we're building solid foundations, and I think that's going to come through the shorts and the PSAs, and later on then the musical project.
And the relationships that we're building, like we mentioned, getting the opportunity to work with an institution, an organization like Oceana, that their entire mission, their entire model is save the oceans, feed the world. And how could we aspire to anything greater? I mean, as we continue to evolve on this planet, eventually we will be 9 billion. We got to figure this stuff out, right? So that's where we're at and what we're doing, Jim. It's we're excited. There's a lot to do, a lot to tell, and being at the beginning of this together is really exciting. We have a wonderful team that we're working with, unbelievable support, and everybody's just as passionate. And that's really our goal. That's been Chris's and my vision this whole time, is what is the animation studio that we can create that is the one we've always wanted to have or be in. And sharing that with our colleagues has been really exciting. They're incredibly passionate about it. They believe in it, and they believe in the message, which is even more exciting. So this goal was not to create just, a gig for people. This is creating hopefully some really sustainable storytelling jobs that
along with a sustainable planet.
Yes.
I mean, there's so much you start finding out. I mean, I've as we've discussed, I've been I've reveled in nature documentaries all my life. I love them. I still do. And yet the things that we're finding out through different organizations about what really is the state of the world right now, and how we can help it. We have some pretty heavy forces against that. There's the sort of denial of logic and science that's going on. So we want things that are scientifically correct within the fantasies that we bring to life. But how much better is it to have an animal talking about its environment, a sea otter talking about the kelp beds, the urchins, and it just makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And if we some of the bigger issues, such as how much the ocean contributes to the oxygen levels on the planet, and that it is the main thing that's given us our ability to breathe. It's not just about the trees in the Amazon. That's just where everybody would go. It's where I would have gone until a couple of months back. It's so much. There's so much more to talk about, and I think that's what we're trying to do too, is to be studious and wise. And Stuart Sumida is in the company with us as a consultant, so we want the animals to behave in ways that illustrate things as best we can, and we want really good animation too, not just like phoning in. And yeah, it's hard to believe it's all happened so quickly, but I think with the purpose that Michaela has, with the energy that she has, and the wide knowledge of the world of animation, literally the world of animation, mm-hmm. where we can go to access talented people who can tell the in the best way.
Most of the world doesn't have any, and this, most of the world doesn't have any idea where our animation is produced. That is produced everywhere but here, right? Canada and far beyond. And so this is something that's really important to Chris and I, is to be representational of the planet as a whole. This is not an American problem. This is not a Los Angeles problem. This is not a Hollywood problem. Mm-hmm. We are one. This is global. And, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that if you go to some of the most remote places on the planet, you show them a few pictures, maybe from Hollywood or from American, pop culture, a lot aren't going to know anything, but they'll know who Woody and Buzz Lightyear are. Mm-hmm. So animation has this transcending power to go so much more beyond what people would normally pay attention to, and that's our focus.
There's one thing that's become so clear to me after all these years is that the story is going to change for different times, and with you have great storyboard artists taking pieces of action and turning it into something marvelous. But for myself now, I insist on let's know who the character is, and I don't mean what are they wearing or what do they have for lunch. I mean, let's go as deep as we And that's when you get into the conversations that Michaela was pointing to. It's like, who is that character? Why is it important that one's a sea otter and one's a river otter? What does that bring to the piece? Can you extrapolate from that? Is it going to give us enough? Is it better that it's a fox? And as I said, Michaela was right. So, in this case, it's a journey down river, and it's an otter who doesn't care for all the other animals who have just been flooded out of their homes. It makes sense. So on we go.
We have another concept that we've developed as a group, and we're working with Raul Garcia.
Mm-hmm.
And I adore Raul. He's just a wonderful man, and he's directing this series that we're working on for India. And we are collaborating with students out of Singapore on that. So that, and that's always a huge, that's been a huge goal of mine too in this, is to maintain the learning component and foster that relationship and grow, because yes, there's a time that we need to hand this off, right? And that's what you're doing. But relationships with other, and fostering relationships with other collaboration, animation groups at other schools. You don't know. It's very important to Chris and myself. You don't know until you talk about that as we grow more and can take on more. And since we want to do things that are different from everybody else, sky's the limit on that. So yeah, always open to having a conversation about how we can collaborate.
I really would love to do 2D again, along with puppetry or real-time animation. We're experimenting with the ideas of doing that, and finding the right ideas. But you're not fighting with the technology to create something that it doesn't work for, But yeah, in terms of signing up, my friend, we have a little bit of fundraising to do, and then come back and knock on the door when there is one.
And actually, it's coming together quite nicely. Considering the times that we're in, this is not the most opportune moment you would think to be raising capital. So, and we just happened to land smack dab in the middle of it. So we're carrying on, and it's actually, we're getting the right connections with the right people at the right time. So it's moving. And for so many, although Chris and I, with any kind of startup or entrepreneurial vision, the excitement is often curbed by the frustration of not being able to make it fast enough, et cetera, et cetera. And to be perfectly honest, considering the state of the world right now, the fact that we're in play and we're moving forward, and we have people that we're collaborating with who believe in us to move this forward and create this content, is an extraordinary gift.
And it comes right slam back to the fact that people want to be involved in an environment that, where the sense that there's, you're looking to positive horizons, not to the sort of, we're looking positively ahead and how much of a difference we can make.
And as Chris mentioned earlier in the conversation, Jim, we were given this opportunity that is such a micro moment in time that nobody thought we would ever get statistically. And that was by shutting down for several weeks our planet, we statistically gained enough information to know that it's not too late. Our planet can heal very quickly. We had jellyfish in the canals. We could see the Himalayas. I mean, the people on the planet just stopping for just enough time allowed us to see the animals all came out to play, and the lions at McDonald's and the sheep on the on the merry-go-rounds, and these unbelievable images of wildlife meandering into our space because they could, and cohabitating. But we got to see what that was like. We all got to witness it with our eyes. And it's so important that we don't forget. So Chris and I, we were talking, our work is, in so many words, would be a plea to the planet to not forget what we learned, and to just keep getting reminded a little bit here and there that we still have work to do. Go about your day, make your life, Have a wonderful life, but just remember this a little bit too, if you can.
This was one thing that was not a conspiracy theory. You can't lie about bluer skies. You can't lie about cleaner oceans. And you can't lie to a goat that's standing in your town while you're running the other way, frankly. But it's important to recognize that Mother Nature does heal, and even a tiny little chance. And again, on from there, it's much more complicated, but that's what we're about, to try to clarify and give people an opportunity, or a physical, a real memory, or pointing at the real memory of what happened in this world.
Because I don't think we're going to get to see that again in our lifetime, most likely. And I say hopefully not like that, but perhaps together we can start to create impact and change. And by partnering with other organizations like Oceana and WSL on their distribution platform for the oceans, it just creates a different, just a different optic.
All right. Well, I want to thank you guys for coming on here. And if anybody, we'll put up your website, and hopefully people will get in contact with you. I feel privileged that you came on here and, let us know what was going on. And
well, we really appreciate your time, Jim.
Yeah, thanks, Jim.
Yeah, thank you for coming on and letting us know what Raft Animation's all about, what you guys want to do with it. So, yeah, thank you.
Glad to do it anytime.
All right. Thank you so much. All right. Thank you. So that was Michaela Hart and Chris Jenkins of Raft Animation. And they have some really interesting ideas. I wish them all the luck in the world. It's so nice to hear about a company that wants to do something, not just, be the best of animation, but take animation and use it to inspire and create humor and entertain, but yet put a little bit of a message in there. Listen to. So anyway, hope you enjoyed that, and we'll see you next time on Animated Educated. Take care.